Welcome to our latest explainer. Today, we're heading deep into the heart of China's Badain Jaran Desert to uncover a landscape of breathtaking extremes, and honestly, some pretty impossible scientific contradictions. We're exploring an environment where towering mountains of sand seem to just completely defy logic by harboring incredible secrets just below the surface.
So, let's jump straight into the biggest paradox here. How exactly does one of the driest places on Earth manage to sustain over 140 permanent, hidden bodies of water? I mean, it goes against absolutely everything we think we know about arid environments, right? But before we even try to answer that, we've got to wrap our heads around the sheer, humbling scale of the landscape surrounding those lakes. We're not just talking about some rolling hills of sand. We are looking at mega dunes that reach over 500 meters into the sky. Think about that for a second. That is taller than the Empire State Building, and it's literally sculpted entirely by the wind.
Section 1. The Great Contradiction. We're stepping into a massive 49,000 square kilometer sea of sand that stretches across Inner Mongolia, Gansu, and Ningxia. It is quite simply one of the largest and most remote deserts in the entire world.
And this really hits the nail on the head when it comes to the thematic paradox of the Badain Jaran. Up on the surface, you face blistering heat, harsh winds, and giant, unforgiving sand mountains. But step down into the valleys, and suddenly you find this rich, life-giving ecosystem. We're talking permanent freshwater and vibrant pink saline lakes lined with resilient flora and diverse wildlife. It's like two completely different worlds.
Section 2. Bilutu, the Everest of Dunes. Now, towering above all those hidden oases is Bilutu Peak, which is officially the tallest stationary sand dune on Earth. For any adventurer out there, climbing it is a grueling physical challenge. You're facing a treacherous hike up steep faces where every single step forward basically means sliding half a step back. When you compare Bilutu to your standard shifting dunes, the differences are just stark. While most dunes are highly mobile and relatively low to the ground, Bilutu stands at that dizzying height of over 500 meters. And the craziest part, it remains completely stationary against those ferocious, howling desert winds. No shifting whatsoever.
So how is that possible? Well, the secret is actually buried beneath the surface. Underneath all that loose, golden sand, structural moisture and immense weight have basically compressed the base into ancient sandstone. This natural cement dates back over 20,000 years, and it acts as an anchor, permanently locking these megadunes in place. It's literally set in stone.
Section 3. The Paradox of Hidden Water. Okay, but how does this structural moisture and the water for all those 140 lakes actually get there? We are talking about a desert with barely 40 millimeters of annual rainfall. It simply shouldn't be possible to have bodies of water that never dry up, even in the dead of scorching summers.
Well, the science points to an incredibly delicate geographical balance. You see, snow melt from the distant Kilian Mountains gets channeled through deep, ancient underground aquifers. This water eventually resurfaces in these low-lying basins. And when you add in the extremely dry air and the high salinity of some of these lakes, the evaporation rates are dramatically reduced. That's what keeps all that water locked right in.
And just to highlight how truly magical this underground water system is, consider the Inner Spring. It is this tiny 3-square-meter rocky island where over 100 sweet, perfectly drinkable freshwater springs just bubble up directly in the middle of a highly salty lake. I mean, it is quite literally an oasis within an oasis. Section 4. The Ancient Desert Temple. Naturally, these life-giving waters haven't just sustained wild camels, gazelles, and resilient shrubs. For millennia, they've drawn nomadic herders and spiritual seekers deep into the extreme isolation of the desert. Looking at the timeline of the human footprint here, it's fascinating to see how the region's immense isolation preserved its culture. We see a history stretching from ancient nomadic herders thousands of years ago to the construction of a spiritual sanctuary in 1755, all the way up to the rather jarring arrival of modern off-road vehicles in the year 2000. Nestled right beside one of those deepest oases is the Badain Jaran Temple, which people often call the Desert Imperial Palace. It's a remarkably untouched 18th century Tibetan Buddhist sanctuary. And get this, the most incredible part is that every single brick, wooden beam, and stone was painstakingly transported deep into the shifting sands by camel caravans over 2 centuries ago. Talk about dedication. The human endurance here is just awe-inspiring.
Take this quote from our sources about an elderly nomadic woman in her 70s. She peacefully lives out her entire life in deep isolation amongst the dunes, and she wants only to be left alone with her sheep, relying entirely on the desert's natural rhythms. It's a totally different way of life. Section 5. The Singing Sands Phenomenon. Now, as you stand out there in that deep isolation, separated from all the noise of our modern world, the profound silence of the Badain Jaran is often broken by a terrifying yet beautiful natural sound.
Local folklore is incredibly rich with tales trying to explain these eerie noises echoing off the dunes. For generations, nomadic storytellers have attributed these booming, resonating sounds to mythical creatures, hidden treasures, or even restless spirits buried far beneath the desert floor.
Science, however, gives us a different, but honestly just as fascinating explanation. It's known as the singing sands phenomenon. Basically, it happens because of the sheer friction of countless dry sand particles rubbing against one another as they cascade and avalanche down the steep faces of the megadunes. It ends up acting like a giant natural acoustic amplifier. Section 6. Preserving a Fragile Paradise. From those booming, singing sands to the 140 hidden oases and ancient temples, the sheer majesty of the Badain Jaran is undeniably powerful. But beneath that grand scale, we have to remember that this ecosystem is incredibly delicate.
Today, this resilient but fragile paradise is facing some severe modern threats. Conservationists are basically battling a multi-front war here. Climate change is altering those vital underground water tables, overgrazing is accelerating desertification, and a booming, completely unregulated off-road tourism industry has heavy vehicles tearing through the delicate sands and disrupting the wildlife.
So I'm going to leave you with this final thought to ponder. As our human footprint keeps expanding, what is our collective role in ensuring that hidden paradoxical wonders like the Badain Jaran remain unspoiled? How do we appreciate the extreme without destroying the delicate? Really think about it. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and we'll catch you on the next one. Keep exploring.